The unexpected encounter. The Dominion Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 2,000 years. Their crimson warships moved through space like predators, bringing order to chaotic worlds and expanding their vast territory one system at a time. Today was no different, or so Admiral Kethfer believed as he stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Sovereign's Will. The massive dreadnought led a fleet of 30 vessels toward the blue-green world of Nagira Prime. Intelligence reports described the Nexari as a peaceful species with primitive technology. Their cities were built from organic materials, and their weapons were simple energy projectors. This conquest would be routine, perhaps taking only a few hours from start to finish. Kethfer adjusted his ceremonial armor, the metal plates reflecting the light from distant stars. His species, the Veltar, had been the Empire's military backbone. For centuries, their tall frames and 4 arms made them natural warriors, while their enhanced vision could track multiple targets simultaneously. Behind him, bridge officers worked at crystalline control panels, monitoring the approach to Nexira Prime. The fleet maintained perfect formation as they dropped out of hyperspace at the system's edge. Sensor readings confirmed what they expected: to find one inhabited planet, several mining stations, and a small defensive fleet of outdated vessels. The Nexari had built their civilization around harmony with nature, creating cities that grew like living organisms and technology that worked with biological systems rather than against them. Lieutenant Zexai, the fleet's communications officer, looked up from her station with confusion spreading across her scaled features. "Admiral, we are receiving an unusual transmission from the planet's surface. They are not offering surrender as expected. Instead, they are requesting assistance." Kethfer's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. "Assistance? From whom? Show me their fleet positions." The holographic projection revealed exactly what intelligence had predicted. 12 small vessels with limited weaponry, positioned defensively around their homeworld. Nothing that could threaten even a single Dominion destroyer. The Nexori transmission continued, broadcast on multiple frequencies in their melodic language. Universal translators converted their words into standard Dominion speech. "We call upon any who would stand with peaceful beings against tyranny. Our world has done no harm to others. We seek only to live in harmony with the galaxy." Such naive hope amused the Admiral. In 2 millennia of expansion, the Dominion had heard similar pleas countless times. Every species believed themselves special, deserving of freedom. Reality taught different lessons. The galaxy was vast and dangerous. Only under Dominion protection could civilizations truly flourish. "Admiral, prepare the standard conquest protocol." Kethfer commanded his tactical officer. "Target their defensive installations first, then their command centers. Minimal civilian casualties, as always. The Nexari will make excellent additions to our agricultural worlds." As the Dominion fleet moved into attack formation, something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to ripple near the outer system boundary. Energy readings spiked across every sensor array as reality twisted and folded. Then, emerging from what appeared to be a tear in space-time itself, came a vessel unlike anything in Dominion records. The ship was roughly the same size as Kethfer's flagship, but their all similarities ended. Where Dominion vessels were elegant and curved, this newcomer appeared angular and aggressive. Its hull was a mixture of dark grey metals, with strange markings along the sides. Most shocking of all, it seemed to be constructed entirely of physical materials, rather than the energy-infused composites the Dominion used. Lieutenant Zexai worked frantically at her communication panel, trying to identify the unknown vessel. Admiral, the ship is not responding to standard identification requests. Its energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. The design appears to be completely alien to all known galactic civilizations. On the mysterious ship's bridge, Captain Sarah Chen stood calmly reviewing the tactical situation. The human officer had short black hair and determined brown eyes that reflected years of military training. Around her, the crew of the UN's determination prepared for what might become humanity's first contact with galactic civilization. Chief Navigator Marcus Rodriguez called out from his station. "Captain, we have successfully arrived in the target system. However, we are not alone. I count 30 hostile vessels in attack formation around the planet. Their technology appears significantly advanced compared to our estimates. Weapons officer Lieutenant Emma Walsh studied her displays with growing concern. "Captain, those ships are powering up what appear to be energy weapons. Their target seems to be the planet below, not us. I think we just jumped into the middle of an invasion." Captain Chen had spent months preparing for this moment. Earth's first, faster-than-light capable warship had been sent to explore beyond the solar system and assess potential threats to humanity. Finding an active military engagement had not been part of the plan, but her orders were clear. Protect Earth's interests and gather intelligence on galactic powers. Communications Officer David Park looked up from his console. "Captain, I am receiving transmissions from the planet. They appear to be calling for help against the attacking fleet. The aggressors have not responded to our presence yet." Chen studied the tactical display showing the positions of all vessels. 30 against 1 were impossible odds, but the planet's defenders appeared completely outmatched. If humanity was going to make its mark on galactic civilization, this moment might determine their reputation for generations to come. "Open a channel to the lead enemy vessel," Chen ordered. "Let us see if diplomacy can resolve this situation, Admiral." Kethva received the transmission from the unknown ship with a mixture of curiosity and irritation. The voice spoke in a language his translators had never encountered, but the universal communication protocols eventually provided meaning. "Attention, Dominion Fleet. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Nations ship Determination. We call upon you to withdraw from this system and allow the peaceful resolution of any disputes. The Nexari people have done nothing to warrant military action." The Admiral's forearms gestured in what his species considered mild amusement. Another primitive species attempting to interfere with Dominion business. Their ship might be unusual, but their naive idealism was depressingly familiar. "Communications. Send a standard response to interfering vessels," Kethva commanded. "Unknown vessel, you are ordered to withdraw immediately. This system falls under Dominion authority. Any interference will be met with appropriate force." Captain Chen listened to the translation of the Dominion response and shook her head. The arrogance was unmistakable, even across species barriers. Chief Engineer Lisa Thompson reported from her station. "Captain, their ships are maintaining formation and continuing their approach to the planet. Energy buildup suggests they intend to attack regardless of our presence." "Very well," Chen replied. "If they want to ignore us, let us give them something they cannot ignore. Helm, position us between their fleet and the planet. Defensive stations only. Do not fire unless fired upon." The UN's determination moved with surprising grace for such an angular vessel. Its fusion drives provided smooth acceleration as it took position directly in the Dominion fleet's path. On 30 different bridges, Alien officers watched the human ship with growing confusion. Admiral Kethver studied the tactical readout with increasing frustration. The unknown vessel had positioned itself to interfere with the conquest, but showed no signs of backing down despite being dramatically outnumbered. Perhaps a demonstration of Dominion power would convince them to withdraw. Tactical, select 2 destroyers. Have them disable that ship with minimal force. Set particle beams to suppression level only. I want the crew alive for questioning. 2 sleek Dominion destroyers broke formation and approached the human vessel. Their hulls gleamed with the characteristic energy field that made Dominion ships nearly indestructible. As they closed to optimal firing range, both ships discharged brilliant blue beams designed to overload enemy systems without causing permanent damage. The particle beams struck the UN's determination, and something unprecedented happened. Instead of the expected system failures, the energy simply dissipated across the ship's hull. Warning lights that should have indicated critical damage remained dark. Communication channels that should have gone silent continued operating normally. Lieutenant Zexai stared at her sensor readings in disbelief. Admiral, the suppression beams had no effect whatsoever. The target vessel appears completely undamaged. I am detecting some form of deflector technology, but it operates on principles I cannot identify. Kethver felt the first stirrings of concern. In 2,000 years of Dominion expansion, suppression beams had never failed to disable enemy vessels. This was impossible according to everything he knew about space combat. On the human bridge, Chief Engineer Thompson calmly reported the attack's results. Captain, their energy weapons were completely neutralized by our electromagnetic barriers. The magnetic field generators dispersed their attack across the entire hull. No damage to any systems, Captain Chen nodded grimly. It seems they are committed to this course of action. All stations, prepare for combat. Let us show them what human engineering can accomplish. The 2 Dominion destroyers, confused by their weapons failure, moved closer and fired again with increased power. This time, the energy beams were strong enough to melt through the armor of any known vessel. Again, they splashed harmlessly against the human ship's defenses. Admiral Kethver rose from his command chair, all 4 arms working at different control panels. This was beyond his experience, beyond anything in Dominion military history. A primitive vessel was somehow immune to their weapons. All ships, full combat formation, he commanded. Target that vessel with everything we have. Maximum power to all weapon systems. 30 Dominion warships turned their attention to the lone human vessel. Energy cannons, particle beams, and plasma projectors charged to full power. The combined firepower could have destroyed a small moon. But Admiral Kethver was no longer confident in victory. Captain. Chen watched the enemy fleet's preparations with calm determination. They are about to discover that humans do not surrender easily. Weapons Officer Walsh, prepare to return fire. Let us introduce them to kinetic weaponry. The Dominion fleet opened fire with devastating force, space filled with deadly energy as 30 ships unleashed their full arsenal. The brilliant light faded to reveal the UN's determination completely intact, its hull unmarked by the massive assault. For the first time in Dominion military history, an enemy vessel had survived there. Combined firepower. Admiral Kethver stood in shocked silence as his officers struggled to understand what they had witnessed. The human response was swift and decisive. Railguns mounted along the Determination's hull launched solid projectiles at incredible velocity. The kinetic rounds accelerated by magnetic coils to near light speed. struck the lead Dominion destroyer with devastating effect. The Dominion vessel's energy shields, designed to stop particle beams and plasma bolts, offered no protection against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The projectile punched through the shield, through the hull, and out the other side in milliseconds. The destroyer shuddered and began breaking apart as atmosphere vented into space. Emergency systems activated as the crew scrambled for escape pods, but the ship was already beyond saving. Admiral Kethver watched his destroyer die and felt something he had never experienced in centuries of warfare. For the first time in his military career, he faced an enemy he could not defeat. When superior technology meets human innovation. Destruction of the Dominion destroyer sent shockwaves through the entire fleet. On 30 different bridges, alien officers stared at their displays in disbelief. Nothing in their extensive military databases had prepared them for weapons that could penetrate their defenses so effortlessly. Admiral Kethver struggled to maintain his composure as damage. Reports flooded in from the destroyed vessel. The Crimson Blade had been one of their newest ships, equipped with the most advanced defensive systems in the Dominion arsenal, yet it had been eliminated by a single projectile from the mysterious human vessel. Lieutenant Zexai worked frantically at her analysis station, trying to understand what had happened. Admiral, preliminary scans suggest the enemy used some form of kinetic weapon, a solid projectile moving at extreme velocity. Our energy shields were not designed to stop physical matter traveling at such speeds. Kinetic weapons, Kethver repeated slowly. No civilized species had used such primitive technology for over a millennium. Energy-based systems were far superior. In every measurable way, they were more efficient, more accurate, and caused less collateral damage. The idea that someone would deliberately choose solid projectiles over particle beams seemed absurd, yet the evidence floated before them in the form of expanding debris where the Crimson Blade used to be. The humans had achieved something impossible using technology the Dominion considered obsolete. On the UN's determination, Captain Chen watched the enemy fleet's reaction with professional interest. The destruction of one vessel had clearly shocked them, but 30 ships still represented overwhelming odds. Her crew needed to use this advantage before the Dominion adapted to their tactics, weapons. Officer Walsh reported from her station with grim satisfaction. Direct hit on the lead destroyer. Complete structural failure achieved with a single round. Railgun Bay 1 is reloaded and ready to fire. Navigation Officer Rodriguez tracked the enemy fleet's movements on his tactical display. Captain, they are reforming into a defensive pattern. It looks like they are trying to maximize the distance between our ship and their vessels. Chen nodded approvingly. They were learning quickly, which made them dangerous. However, the rail guns had been designed for long-range engagement. Distance alone would not save them. Communications Officer Park looked up from his console with important news. Captain, I am receiving multiple transmissions from the planet below. They are asking if we need assistance. They want to help us fight. The offer was touching, but Chen knew the Nexari vessels would be destroyed within seconds if they joined the battle. Their primitive technology was no match for Dominion weapons, even if the humans could handle the enemy fleet alone. Send our thanks to the Nexari, but tell them to maintain their defensive positions around the planet. This fight is beyond their capabilities. Chief Engineer Thompson monitored their system's status from her engineering station. Captain, all systems are operating at peak efficiency. The electromagnetic barriers are handling their energy weapons without strain. We can maintain this level of defensive capability indefinitely. Admiral Kethver issued new orders to his fleet with growing urgency. All ships maintain maximum range. Use long-distance bombardment only. Do not allow that vessel to approach our formation. The enemy ship's immunity to energy weapons gave it a tremendous advantage at close range. But perhaps distance would reduce the accuracy of their kinetic projectiles. The Dominion fleet spread out across a wider area and began firing in coordinated volleys. Hundreds of energy beams crossed space simultaneously, creating a brilliant light show that could be seen from the planet's surface. The combined firepower was staggering, representing the accumulated military might of dozens of worlds. All of it splashed harmlessly against the human ship's defenses. The electromagnetic barriers dispersed the energy attacks, while reactive armor plating absorbed any residual heat. Inside the UN's determination, the crew barely felt the impacts. Captain Chen studied the enemy formation and identified their tactical weakness. They were to spread out now, making coordination difficult while creating gaps in their defensive coverage. Officer Walsh, select multiple targets. Fire rail guns in sequence to maximize our rate of attack. Show them that distance will not save them. The human warship's response was devastating in its efficiency. Railgun mounts along the hull fired in rapid succession, launching solid projectiles at different targets throughout the Dominion formation. Each round traveled at nearly light speed, making evasion impossible for ships designed for energy combat. 3 more Dominion vessels exploded within minutes as kinetic rounds tore through their hulls. The elegant destroyers, built for fighting, enemies with similar technology, were completely vulnerable to humanity's unconventional approach to warfare. Panic began spreading through the Dominion fleet as captains realized their standard tactics were useless. Some ships moved closer, hoping to overwhelm the human vessel with concentrated fire. Others pulled back further, seeking safety in distance. The coordinated formation dissolved into chaos. Admiral Kethver felt his carefully planned conquest falling apart around him. 4 destroyers destroyed, with the remainder of his fleet in disarray. The unknown humans had achieved in minutes what no enemy had accomplished in the Dominion's 2,000-year history. Communications. Contact Dominion. High Command, he ordered his lieutenant. Inform them that we have encountered a hostile force with technology superior to our own. Request immediate reinforcements. The message would take hours to reach the nearest Dominion stronghold, and reinforcements would take days to arrive. By then, this battle would be decided one way or another. On the planet below, the Nexari watched the space battle with amazement and growing hope. Their organic cities pulsed with bioluminescent displays as millions of beings witnessed something they had thought impossible. The mighty Dominion fleet was being defeated by a single unknown vessel. Elder Vexeni, the Nexari's most senior leader, stood in the planetary command center, watching the tactical displays with her large, multifaceted eyes. "The stranger ship fights for us," she observed to her council. "Perhaps the galaxy still contains those who value justice over conquest." Her aide, a younger Nexari named Kaleth, monitored their defensive systems with nervous energy. "Elder, should we assist them? Our ships are armed, though our weapons are limited compared to either fleet." Vexani considered the offer carefully. The humans were clearly more advanced than anyone had expected, but they were still outnumbered 26-1. Perhaps Nexari assistance could tip the balance. "Prepare our defensive fleet," she decided. "If the strangers falter, we must be ready to help them. They risk everything to protect our world." Captain Chen received word of the necessary preparations through her communications officer. The locals were planning to join the fight, despite her earlier request for them to remain defensive. She understood their desire to help, but worried about their safety in such an advanced battle. However, an idea began forming in her tactical mind. The Nexari ships might not be able to damage Dominion vessels, but they could serve as a distraction. If timed correctly, their intervention might create the opening she needed for a decisive strike. Park. Contact the Nexari fleet. Tell them to wait for my signal, then move to coordinate with our attack. They cannot fight these ships directly, but they can help us end this battle quickly. The remaining Dominion vessels regrouped under Admiral Kethva's desperate leadership. 26 ships formed a tight defensive formation, all weapons trained. On the human vessel, if energy attacks would not work, perhaps overwhelming volume of fire would succeed where individual shots had failed. All ships, continuous bombardment, Kethva commanded. Do not stop firing until that vessel is destroyed or our weapons are depleted. The fleet responded with everything they had, creating a constant stream of energy that turned space around the UNS Determination into a sea of deadly light. For several minutes, the human ship disappeared within the brilliant glow of sustained energy fire. The Dominion crews began to hope they had finally found a way to overcome the stranger's defenses. Then the light faded, and the human vessel emerged completely undamaged. Its electromagnetic barriers had absorbed and dissipated the massive energy. Assault without showing any signs of strain. Captain Chen chose that moment to signal the Nexari fleet. Now was the time for coordinated action, while the Dominion ships were focused entirely on her vessel. 12 Nexari vessels emerged from their planetary defensive positions, moving with the fluid grace of organic technology. Their bioships looked like living creatures swimming through space, with hulls that shifted color as they approached the battle zone. The Nexari attack was exactly what Chen had hoped for. Their energy weapons, while unable to penetrate Dominion shields, created enough sensor interference and visual distraction to mask the human ship's next movement. Under cover of the Nexari assault, the UN's Determination accelerated directly toward the center of the Dominion formation. The maneuver was incredibly dangerous, but Chen knew it was their best chance to end the battle quickly. Rail guns fired continuously as the human ship closed distance with its enemies. At point-blank range, the kinetic weapons became even more devastating. Dominion vessels exploded in rapid succession as solid projectiles tore through their hulls. Admiral Kethva watched his fleet disintegrate around him as the human ship carved through their formation. Like a blade through silk. In less than 10 minutes, 26 proud Dominion warships had been reduced to 8 survivors fleeing in all directions. Sir, his tactical officer reported with barely controlled panic, we have lost 18 vessels. The remainder are requesting permission to retreat. For the first time in Dominion military history, an admiral was forced to give an order that had never been spoken before. All surviving ships, immediate withdrawal to hyperspace. Retreat to the nearest Dominion stronghold. The surviving Dominion vessels fled the system in shame, leaving behind the wreckage of their once mighty fleet. Captain Chen watched them disappear into hyperspace and turned her attention to the grateful Nexari. The battle was over, but its consequences would reshape the galaxy. Humanity had announced its presence to galactic civilization in the most dramatic way possible, proving that innovation and determination could overcome even overwhelming odds. Elder Vexeni led a delegation to meet with the human representatives, beginning diplomatic relations that would change both species forever. The Nexari offered their friendship and alliance, while the humans gained their first ally among the stars. News of the Dominion's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than anyone could have imagined. On 1,000 worlds, subjugated species looked up at the stars and wondered if freedom was finally possible. The humans had shown that the mighty Dominion could be beaten. Captain Chen prepared her ship for the long journey back to Earth, carrying news that would transform humanity's place in the universe. They were no longer alone, and they had proven themselves worthy of respect among the stars. The galaxy would never be the same.